Hello everybody, XRCroom42 here, back with another review. I've had a long absence because I've just been dealing with some real life stuff, plus an illness, plus actually working on another project for the channel. But then, this arrived. A little difficult to see with my living camera angle, but I've got the Hornby Turbomotive here. I've saved the unboxing for when I filmed the review so that you would get my fresh reactions. I can already tell you it weighs a ton, as you would expect it to. And then you've got the instruction sheet. Just tells you about the lubrication points, various accessories, DCC installation. Weirdly, it seems to have the old-fashioned plug. If I had to guess, it's because if I had to guess, it would be either because they were developing this before they were developing the P2, or because they just reused the chassis from the old Princess Royal. Which, that isn't an issue for me. The Princess Royals were fabulous runners, so I don't really have an issue with that. If we have a look in the accessories bag here, crew figures, those are becoming standard now, which I really like. Those steps for the front end. Lovely decoration on those. The flanged wheels for the rear truck. There's a lamp for the front of the smoke box door. And then there's a set of screw-link couplings. Okay, let's get into the real meat of this. The Turbomotive herself. And immediately the metal finish is clear. When they said die-cast body, they were not kidding. That's lovely. Wow, she really does weigh a ton. Wow. Vacuum pipe fitted to the front end, sprung buffers, lamps, which I'm told light up. She was a steam turbine locomotive, hence the nickname, but rebuilt from a Princess Royal. Good pipe, handrails along the way. Rivets are all accurately placed. All these little vents for the turbines. And I'm told there's a flexing, yep, there we go. An opening vent there. That's cool. The lamp bracket, which is removable for that extra lamp. The number board. The double chimney, which is accurate to the prototype. The metal safety valves, but plastic whistle, tiny bit of disconnect there. The pipework underneath the cab. And if we turn her around, there weren't as many turbines for the reverse position as there were for the forward. So the other side looks a lot more similar to a standard Princess. All kinds of extra valves. You got the splashers. The running plate appears to still be plastic, but it is perfectly straight. So, like, I kind of understand and also don't understand why this costs so much, because, like, it's made of die-cast. Sure, that's expensive, but at the same time, there's not a huge amount of detail to it, which is accurate to the prototype, sure, but... So, like, I'm kind of 50-50 on why it costs so much. Next thing I'm noticing, if you look at the cab is an ever so slightly lighter shade than the rest of the model. Like, even looking at it with the tender, the cab is an ever so slightly lighter shade, and that creates a tiny bit of disconnect. That cab is exquisite, though. The cab doors. See if we can get a good shot in there. There we go. Printed gauges, a lot of separately applied components in there. And the open firebox for the glow. And then the tender looks exquisite. Look at all that lining on the underframe. And then all the springs and suspension and things. Water filler cap. More sprung buffers. And then looking at the front end of the tender. There's a bunch of fireman's controls in there. And I'm going to see if I can get this coal load out, because if this is anything like my other Stanier Pacifics, it's not. I don't know how accurate to the prototype that is, but my other Stanier Pacifics have molded coal rams in there. I'm not going to mark it off of detail because I'm just guessing that's accurate for this particular engine. But all of my other Stanier Pacifics have full-on, you know, coal rams in there. Overall, everything is portrayed reasonably accurately. However, given the disconnect between the shading and slightly different components, I can't quite give it a 5 out of 5 for detail. You could call it a 4.5, which is still reasonable, but you would expect a 5 out of 5 at this price point. Anyway, let's get her on the track and see how well she runs. Gotta break her in first, though. A tip I'm gonna say here, when it comes to these full die-cast models, run them in for longer than you would the other stuff. So, like, if the instructions say 30 minutes in each direction at 50% speed, do, like, 45 minutes in each direction at, like, 55 or 60% speed. Because I've seen a lot about these things about these and other die-cast engines, like the Dublo Scotsman, which this is one I personally experienced, that the Dublo Scotsman models were really sluggish out of the box, that they just could not crawl at first, but then as I ran it more, it gained the capability to crawl over a period of time. So I just recommend longer running in sessions for heavy die-cast models like these. Anyway, I'm going to get her set up and running in. I'll see you in a bit. And now trackside. I did a very extensive break-in session with this thing. Like I said before, die-cast engines can be a bit sluggish. So I got her going. Let's check out, see how well she crawls. Just inching it up. She gonna go yet? There she goes. Yeah, there we go. You see, she is pretty sluggish. But once she does get going, it's very smooth and consistent. See? See? It's a very smooth and consistent runner once it actually gets going. It does struggle a little bit at the slow speeds, though. See? Well, just for the sake of I just got these and want to run them behind something, I've got a set of Pullmans lined up behind her. I feel like I do have to mark down her final performance rating just because she really struggles at the lower speeds. I do think they should have tried to make a stronger motor for it. But let's get her set off. Nice smooth takeoff. Headlights going. That nice firebox glow. Did a lot better with the glow on this one than they did on the P2 in my opinion. 3, 2, 1. And that flywheel demonstrating a very free mechanism. So I do recall highlighting in the detail segment that I thought the color didn't quite match between the cabin tender and the rest of the body. So I've got her lined up next to my Princess Royal for comparison. If you look here, everything does match perfectly fine. However, there's one key difference here. The Princess is entirely plastic. The Turbomotive has a metal boiler and footplate. Well, not a metal footplate, but the boiler and everything is die-cast. They did a much better job disguising this on like the Dublo Scotsman, but I think what's going on here is not an issue with color matching, but with finish matching. See the very shiny finish of the die-cast metal, combined with the plastic on the cab, see? Well, if you compare it on the Princess Royal, everything matches color and finish. So I think what's going on with the Turbomotive here is a lack of finesse in matching the finishing between the boiler and the rest of the engine. So, final ratings for the Turbomotive. Detail I have to call a 4.5 out of 5. It doesn't quite make 5 for me for two reasons. One, the finish discrepancy between the metal boiler and the plastic tender and cab. It's not really that noticeable from super far away, but the moment you actually like get it in your hands, it's noticeable. It's there. And the other reason is just that the lighting is not accurate. These are headlamps. This is a tail lamp. But they behave directionally like this is a diesel model. That is not how those worked in real life. I understand why they did it this way. And on my end, that's just a nitpick. So that's why I'm only taking off half a star for those two issues combined, as opposed to one whole star. So 4.5 out of 5 for detail. Quality gets a 5 out of 5. Die-cast boiler, no glue marks. In fact, I would say about 70% of this model is just straight up die-cast metal. There's no glue marks anywhere. Everything feels very sturdy, and there are no mechanical issues. So quality is good. For accessories, I would call that a 5 out of 5. Comes with the crew, the screw-link couplings, and lots of other things, including an extra lamp to fit to the smoke box if you want that. And that will work, too. The performance, I have to call only a 4 out of 5. Once it actually starts, it's smooth and consistent and doesn't have any torque issues at all. The issue is that it basically can't crawl on analog. You would kind of expect that for the price tag, and you didn't quite get there. As for the value for money, I'm calling it a 3 out of 5. I'm happy with my purchase. I don't feel ripped off, but it was still very expensive, and it has a couple of issues that you wouldn't expect at the price point. That's all from me for now. Have a good night.